Hey everyone, I'm Nikki with the Confidence Queen podcast. This is Livia, and she is my special guest today. She is with LNG Live, which is an entertainment company, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. That is us.
Why don't you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so we are LNG Live. We've got 9 products total that span from acoustic solos all the way up to an electric 7-piece party band and hopefully a 10-piece this year.
Love that.
Ever expanding.
Okay.
And we
I love growth.
perform all over the state of Florida.
Okay.
All the way up through New Jersey so far.
No way, all around.
Yeah, all over the place.
That's great. Okay, we'll definitely get more into that for sure as we go through. That's awesome. So what is like your current gigs, or where do you usually, is it Central Florida more based, or?
Most of the time we're in Central Florida. We can get down into South Florida, but for right now we're mostly based in Orlando, the Villages,
Yeah.
Champions Gate, that kind of area.
Gotcha. So essentially you're a singer.
Correct, yeah.
And you have a band? Or you have like husband and wife singing? Like how does that work? What's your audience? Or is it just you solos?
It depends on the day, honestly. Okay. So we have 2 soloists, 2 duos, a trio, an acoustic 4-piece, and then electric 5-piece, 6-piece, and 7-piece.
Okay, so when you say pieces, because guys, I don't know anything about... I like listening to music. Yeah. I don't know shit about of like how it all comes together. I get like a guitarist and all those things, but like what does pieces mean? That means the people that are in it, or what does that mean?
Essentially, a piece is a person. So if it's the 2-piece, it's my husband and I. I play cajon and sing, and he plays guitar and sings. And then if we add our best friend Christina, she's the lead singer. I'll play cajon and sing, and Gus plays guitar and sings. And then it just goes up per person with extra instruments and extra vocalists from there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about like the actual business. How long have you been in business? What kind of sparked that? So let's start, how long have you, with LNG Live?
LNG is the original, is the duo.
Okay.
We started in the middle of the pandemic.
2020!
Literally.
Everyone loves that.
Listen,
COVID.
This is probably such a weird thing to say, but I am so thankful that the shutdown happened. Not the pandemic, but it really just gave us time to stop.
Yeah.
And reevaluate everything.
Your whole life, yeah.
Literally everything, what was important to us. At that time, I was working 7 jobs.
What?
Yeah, literally. I know.
But this is before you have a baby, right?
No. We have a dog and a niece.
Oh, I thought you said like a 2-year-old.
A 2-year-old niece, but she is with us a lot.
But she's with. That's fine. Yeah. Okay, so this is 7 jobs. Still no children, but oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How do you do 7 jobs though? You work 1 hour at each job and then come home? Like how do you do it?
We worked 7 days a week.
Okay.
I had been working for this place called Artistic Marbling at the time, which was amazing. Absolutely loved them. And it was very artistic. We worked in Epcot for the art festival, and they had opened a store in Disney Springs. So we were kind of bouncing around between those. I also worked at Universal. I worked as a froggy for a company called ECA, also at Universal, just third party. I was
going to say like froggers? I love froggers.
Yeah, they're the kids that do the little frogs.
Yeah.
And I loved that one too. I also did princess parties. And it was so many things. I was working probably 75 to 80 hours a week.
How do you live? Are you just a type of like go type person?
I am, and I definitely was before that. I was definitely raised on a work first mentality. I missed so many things. Like I missed weddings, I missed funerals, parties.
And you weren't in the entertainment business just yet?
Not necessarily. I did it a little here and there, but most of my life I was doing retail or hospitality.
Right. But still, with 7 jobs, you're probably working every single day.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
So no matter what, you're still missing out on all of these like events, life events that most people, which I can resonate with, most people do on weekends. So if you work weekends, like I do myself, I work every day too, but weekends... For us, we work most weekends. It's weddings, and if it's not booked on a wedding, it is photo shoots, because that's just the easier time that people are going to come in and try to do a photo shoot.
Yeah.
So and I had a kid, and I was missing out on all types of birthday parties, or he wanted to go to the skating rink on a weekend, and I couldn't take him, so I had to have a family member or someone else take him, and I'm missing out, and It sucks.
Yeah.
So I can totally get this whole COVID thing. I am the same with you because I do not, and I want to make this extremely clear, I do not want to say that I'm grateful for COVID because I know a lot of people lost their lives, a lot of people lost their jobs. It destroyed a lot. So I'm very sensitive with those words. However, I will state, if it wasn't for COVID, I would not have met Kenny. And that is for the same reason like you. I was married to my job, and any extra time went to my son.
Yep.
But at that time too, I was traveling the world to go photograph weddings. So I was in Greece, Europe. I was out of the country, I feel like, more than I was in the country.
That's amazing.
It was crazy, but I loved it and it fueled me. But then COVID, and I couldn't go out of the country, and I couldn't do weddings because the world shut down.
Right.
They're like, oh, you can't be more than 10 people, and so I had to stop. And for months, I'm sitting there like, what do I do now? So I'm just hanging out, and a relationship was not on my radar for a long time. Like, if I met someone and I was like, okay, cool, but nah, I was good if I didn't.
Yeah.
And then I was like, man, I'm lonely. I'm sitting here for months, and I'm hanging out with some family members. At that time, you didn't have anything else to do, but...
You still had to be careful.
Yeah. And so I would hang out with the same people, so yeah, we're all safe and everything, but I'm realizing, I'm like, oh, this sucks. I'm like actually lonely. Like, why don't so I finally, the world had opened up halfway. So it was like 50% capacity here in Florida. And then I was like going through my DMs, and I missed some DMs on Facebook. You already seen firsthand how bad I am with Facebook a little bit. Sorry. It's nothing personal. It's just I just have so many other platforms that I'm just like, and then I realized this man has been messaging me a couple of times, and I just wasn't on there. And so after a while, like, I slid in there. I was like, hey. And then that's how we started. But I can totally get it, So COVID made you go back and go like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah, just had to take perspective.
And now, were you with your husband at this time?
So we had just moved in together.
Okay, so new relationship-ish?
Could have, yeah. Well, we were dating for about a year, but, we weren't intending to move in together, but circumstances being what they were, we just decided to go ahead and do it. And then the world shut down, which could have been a recipe for disaster. But then we ended up coming out with a company.
Yeah.
And with a really strong relationship. And then we got married almost immediately after that with still what could be technically qualified as a COVID wedding.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all weren't wasting any time. You're like,
no.
Listen, I get it. COVID, I'm not wasting no time. I'm marrying you.
Yep.
We're doing this now.
It was wild. And originally we started doing just live streams from our living room. Just on Facebook.
Okay.
This was not an intention of starting a passion project or a company. It was just, my husband had bought my cajon, which is a little box drum, for me as a present.
What's it called?
A cajon.
Cajon.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a Peruvian instrument. It's really neat. If you've never seen it. So
it's like a drum?
Yeah. So it's literally a box. But like, you know how like a drum kit, it has the kick at the bottom, which does the doom, doom, doom. Yep. So that's the middle. And then it has the snap, or what would be the snare, like the cymbals, on the top.
So it's a multifunction kind of thing. Okay.
It's really cool. And she's called a bass cajon, so she's beefy. She's nice. So he started out teaching me how to play the cajon, and his mom at the time was streaming for a service that walked around Disney and would just show you, different Disney related like events and stuff. So she came over with her, thousands of followers that were from England and from Germany, and we just sang Disney songs by request. Mm-hmm. And it just got so much traction that people were like, you should try to do this for a living. And we were like, okay.
Let's try to do it.
So we did.
So your husband was already kind of into music?
He was way more into all of this than I was. He had already been performing in bands for years.
Okay.
I went to school for opera.
Oh, nice.
Which is not pop at all. Like
but I mean, that's crazy. That's
He had
awesome.
to teach me so much. I struggled so hard in the beginning, but he was so supportive of trying to teach me, because the way that you sing is so wildly different. And he was just so patient with me trying to figure everything out.
Yeah.
So he has really been my rock throughout this whole thing. There's no way that I would have been able to do any of this without him, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, our talents just so complement each other. We just got so lucky.
That you found the same talents, but also like your weaknesses, he might be stronger, and like we were saying earlier,
Yep.
Vice versa. Like that's how Kenny and I are. So okay, now you went to school. Let's go back a little bit.
Yeah.
So what stemmed the whole music career, or your love for music in general?
I think with musicians in general, we just come out of the womb with the passion.
Just loving it.
Yeah, with the microphone, with the drumsticks, whatever.
But did you know that you always want to sing, or did you think you want to do something with an instrument?
Always wanted to sing. I didn't learn how to play an instrument until I was in middle school, I think. My dad was a snare drummer in
What's a snare?
So, do you know what drumline is? Like military drum
Let's
lines?
just pretend like I don't.
So like
I don't fucking know anything.
like at football games, or like
okay, so like
yeah,
a
like
line. Okay.
So he played the snare drum, which is just like the single, like the smaller drum.
Okay.
And he did that at Valley Forge Military Academy on a scholarship. So he was good, right? And then he went on to be a sound engineer. And he traveled with Earth, Wind, and Fire, with Donna Summer, with the Beach Boys. He did Best Little Whorehouse in Texas with Dolly Parton's sister.
Whorehouse? I need to go to this, but where is that at?
Have you ever seen that show?
No.
It's so good. But my mom, I was telling you earlier, is fully deaf in one ear.
Yes.
And tone deaf in the other. But she's a dancer. So she still has, the music in her. She's also a painter. So my whole family is very artistic.
So I feel like any kind of artistry can very much, not all times, but can very much like run in the blood. Like I feel like I see some families and everyone in the family can sing, or it gets passed down to certain generations of like. So my aunt was an artist. My dad can draw very well. I actually wanted to be a painter. I didn't before photography, and then I realized I don't know if I can make money from that, so maybe I shouldn't. So I got really like, and then I want to do special effects makeup, like monsters and stuff.
That's cool.
I wanted to go to the Joe Blasco school. It's in Central Florida.
Still can.
I know, girl, but like it really like the everything just like when I realized the money at this time when I wanted to do it, I was pregnant, or I was pregnant with Aiden. So I was like, but how do I make money? And how do I brand myself when I'm about to have a newborn baby?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just felt very limited.
You could have done like an alien scene.
I know I could have, but one, I was limited on my experience, so I had to go to the school too.
Yeah.
Could I actually do the school and raise a newborn by myself? I don't know. There was a whole lot of things, and I let that really deter me a lot. But thank God I started my company when Aiden was 3 months old. And I want to say that truthfully, it was having my son that made me start my company, because I was always the girl in high school with the camera. So it was just like, I would go to like powder puff games and football games, and I would just be taking random pictures of everybody. If I go to a party, bet your ass I'm taking a picture of you drunk. Like don't invite me then. But everyone still did, because it was awesome. And now guess what? Everyone's got high school memories because of me, because no one took fucking pictures back then.
Well.
And we didn't have the phones, you had to bring out your digital or your, what is it? Your round. Yeah. And you had to get the film and put it in 1 hour. You could develop in 1 hour at CVS. Anyways. So, I still have all those pictures, which is great.
Funny.
But because of my son, I saved money, and I waited for my income tax to come through, and I was like, you know what? I really want to document him. Yeah. And because he was 3 months old, I was like, so I started taking baby pictures. I started everything. I photographed. He hated it. I mean, he hates it now. He didn't know then, but he grew up with the camera in front of his face. He probably thought the camera was his mother. It was crazy. So going back, so your family is very artistic.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to just hit base a little bit. So your mom, you said an artist?
Yeah, she does crazy things. Like, I can't paint or draw even a little bit. Like, it's kind of crazy. But she, specifically, I remember this one pastel that she did of Marilyn Monroe. That's like in a little like pad or whatever. And she's just like, oh yeah, it's fine. It was insane. Like, it's got this huge feather boa in it.
That's awesome.
And I'm just like, that's fine and whatever. Like, you're so talented. And here she is, a preschool teacher for 30-something years, and now she's, a professor, like an adjunct professor at a college.
That's amazing.
I know. It's like,
that's amazing. The whole point of this whole entire podcast, I just wanted women to inspire women. I wanted women to know that, like, no matter your circumstances, you can do this. And that's why I want to bring on women like you. So let's go back to college.
Yeah.
And we touched base before we're filming a little bit on this. We don't have to go into a lot of detail, but essentially you did go to college to be an opera singer?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So I went to a college up north with a focus in opera performance.
Okay.
So you can do vocal performance versus vocal education. I was one of 2 vocal performance majors.
Okay.
Out of, 100 and something people, everyone went to vocal education because it's the only way that you can make your money.
Oh, okay.
So there was only 2 of us, and I'm a operatic light lyric soprano, which is like the most common kind of soprano.
Okay.
So it's so ungodly difficult to get a job and keep it without somebody literally dropping dead on the stage for you to
Because
be able to
it's
take
so
their place.
saturated.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And
Okay.
you can do opera until you die, and they do.
Jeez.
So it's just impossible
Gotcha.
to get a position.
The
so
seniority is just crazy, and then you just have, it's like, oh, yeah.
and there's nepotism like any other, artistic form.
Yeah. Dang. I didn't
Yeah.
think of it like that. So, your thoughts now for the audience, should they go to college?
Honestly, I feel like some people could get something out of it. It just wasn't for me just because of the way that it was based. I spent so much more time on extracurricular things that I needed for the degree to be finished than focusing on my actual
Talent?
art.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it just, I did, I think, 2.5 semesters before I was like, I could have just paid my personal vocal instructor $80 a month to really focus on the things that I needed and
Yeah.
submit for opera houses,
Yeah.
other than spending $10,000 a
Yeah.
semester to go to astrology. Literally,
That's-
that was one of my...
What? What does that have to do with anything?
Or world religions, which I find very interesting, but had nothing to
do with your degree. Yeah.
Correct.
That's
so
crazy.
I feel like I wasted a lot of time, unfortunately, but that path
had
did
the
get me
experience, I
to where.
guess.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, sort of.
So the message is you don't have to go to college, people. You don't.
No, you
And you
don't.
don't have to spend thousands upon thousands upon thousands. And I will as well agree to this because I have been a wedding photographer, a photographer in general, but wedding photographer for 15 years now, and I did not go to college. You know what I did? I went to the YouTube college. And anything I needed to know, YouTube told me.
Yep.
And if I didn't know it, especially in Photoshop, all of my editing, I was like, what does this tool mean? And it taught me. And as long as you have the determination and you're like, I'm willing to put in the time. So I had a newborn baby. Aiden was 3 months old when I decided, I'm doing it. I'm just going to do it. I was waitressing. I was taking care of a newborn. And I was trying to build my company.
Girl.
And I was tired. But when he would take a nap or he would go to bed, I'm on that computer and I'm researching what I need to do. I did many free photo shoots. I actually started it as a charity to help families that could never afford to have photo shoots.
Aww.
And that's kind of how it all stemmed. But then eventually I was like, I gotta make money. All this free stuff is fun, but I gotta actually make a living.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I just feel I don't want people to get caught up in this whole like you have to go to college or have to get this certain degree to do this career, especially anything in artistry. Like anything
Correct.
that is like an art form, because art is subjective.
Yeah.
And granted, if you're a lawyer or a doctor, please get your degree.
Right.
Please, because you're not going to operate on me without it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's fast forward. After college, did you just like chill out on the music stuff, or how did just waited a little bit and then 2020 happened and you're like, screw it, let's do it?
I kind of bounced around between a bunch of different things because honestly, my skill set is really more towards the organizational time management. Like I'm really good at anything that could be considered like secretary work or like just being in charge of projects and events. I'm really good at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of stepped into that role. I was also performing at a dinner theater at the time. That was just like an ad lib haunted dinner theater. So
But I feel like that could help you with your talents. Get you in front of people, and the whole scheduling and being like
Yes.
more secretary helps you with the business in general.
it definitely did. And I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
So I thought I was like, oh, I'll just do that for somebody else. No
Right.
problem. But I ended up going to the Disney College program, which got me down here.
Gotcha. Because you said you're from New Jersey.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I did my Disney college program and then went home after it was done to a string of nor'easters. And I was like, I'm done. No more snow, no more cold. I'm finished. So I moved back to Tampa and just kind of fiddled around for a couple years and did, I worked for Sunglass Hut and just little things here and there. Finally moved to Orlando and started bartending at Jelly Rolls on the boardwalk and working for the Princess Party Company and just kind of hopped from one job to another.
Okay, cool.
And then we have pandemic.
Boom.
Yep.
And then business. Okay, so let's get into the business part. Let's get to the nitty gritty. Okay, so you and hubby, or boyfriend at the time, but hubby, say, okay, let's start a business.
Yeah.
So what did you do? What's your first steps, especially in entertainment, to get your brand out there? How did you brand? What was your niche? What did you think? And then how, especially as being an artist, how are you going to get that out there to where people are going to want to come and watch you?
Yeah.
So let's start with that.
I'm extremely organized, so I kind of wrote up a timeline of what I would need and when, and I really utilized Facebook a lot because I know a lot of female business owners already. So I went out and I was like, how do I file my permits? Not something I ever thought about before. So,
and what do you mean by for anyone that doesn't know that they need to file permits? What do you mean? So you have to have a permit in order to perform somewhere, or
not necessarily. So really, just my business license for the state of Florida. So we're a fictitious name filing. So we're not technically an LLC, but we're a fictitious name, Schedule C.
Okay.
So I had to file that with the state of Florida and pay all of the fines, and then you have to take out something in the newspaper for the county that you're in. So
what?
I know, it's crazy, right? So
I wonder if that's is that still a thing? I've never even heard that.
I just updated it. So I mean, at least the fictitious name filing is still correct. But I don't know about the newspaper thing. That was a little wild. At first I thought it was a scam, but I was like, well, let me just do it so I don't get in trouble.
Yeah. And so you get all the legal stuff. Okay, I'm starting a business.
Yeah.
Let me pay for my business name. Let me make sure the government knows, guys, I'm starting a business.
Correct.
Which, if anyone wants to do that, just Google or slide in the DMs and I can help you out with that. It sucks, but once you get it and it's just done with.
Yeah.
You do have to pay it yearly, but you'll come back to that.
Yeah, and then we opened our business account after that.
The bank.
Yes.
Yes. So get that going. And the main thing, again, is you're an artist. How do you brand? How do you get out there?
We did branding on a $0 budget.
That's it.
We had no things. So literally I took my crappy iPhone and set it up on our desk, and we took some 30-second clips of us doing random songs in our living room with our dog and walking in the background, just super casual in jeans and t-shirts. And I just strung them together in iMovie and made a demo reel. Okay. Which it was so sketchy.
And you were seeing covers?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we just picked I'm a Believer by the Monkees and All the Small Things, just a bunch of different things that people from all kinds of venues could be like, oh yeah, that makes sense for this place. Yeah. And I sent 200 emails a day.
Where are you sending them? Any and everywhere?
Any place that had a restaurant or a bar, an outdoor space, anything that would make sense for us to exist. I just sent an email, sent a Facebook message, anything. Anything to just... And I just recently was going through those again and just seeing how many people never responded or never opened the email. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But just those couple were all we needed.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, especially for a startup. Even if you don't hear nothing, you got to be consistent. Mm-hmm. Even this podcast, it's my startup, and I probably, who knows where it's gonna go. It ain't going nowhere right now. But I know that if I'm consistent, I know that even from my past businesses, if you just post, I gotta post 3 to 5 times a day. For every day.
Social media is the thing. Yes. We had nothing. Literally started from scratch, and we posted so much. We actually just hit 2,000 followers. Yay, a couple days ago. Thank you.
I love it. On which platform though?
On Instagram. And we've got about 1,500 on Facebook, I think.
Love that.
Live Effect, the party band, is way newer, so we've got about 500 followers on Instagram for that, but we haven't even been around for a year.
Why don't you tell them how they can find you then?
So you can find L&G on Facebook and Instagram at L&G Live. Okay. And then Live Effect, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Ayo.
I know, right?
Love it.
At Live Effect Party Band on all three.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's talk about going back to, okay, so you've been messaging, emailing 200 times, like reaching out to everybody, and then let's talk about maybe your first snibbles. When did someone reply, or how else did you try to market to where you got some response?
Most of it was through Instagram, but I think our very first gig was actually a cover for somebody. So they had gotten booked and they were no longer able to do the gig. So they called us and we were like, yeah, let's try it out. And
now, was this at a public play?
Yeah, so it's, have you ever heard of Sanford Brewing Company?
Yeah, we've gone there,
Yeah, so it was at their Maitland location, so it was outside, and I was freaking out, because this is my
first one, yeah.
And I, like, honestly, I didn't understand how difficult it was to play an instrument, sing at the same time, and like
entertain,
be present.
Yeah. Oh.
And then having to talk in between, I never even thought about it. Like just being fluid and having it make sense.
Because you don't want the dead air.
No.
In between like sets, and then you're like, everyone's like, okay, what is she doing now?
Literally. Yeah. And like I would say stuff and Gus would be like, what? Was that English? And I'm like, I don't know. Here. Just play the song. I don't know.
Okay, so you got that gig, and then tell me how you started just building that company.
It really just kind of snowballed from there. We continued to do the live streams.
Okay, so you went on live on which platform?
On Facebook. I think we did. We tried to do Instagram, but it wasn't like ready at that point yet. Like it wasn't a very good platform for live streaming yet. So we did mostly Facebook. And during this time, we had only gotten a couple things where, like, I wasn't getting paid, but he was. Like, we worked at Tin Roof, and we also worked at, like, Paddy Wagons and, like, Buena Vista. And at that point, we started to introduce our trio. And our trio was our most popular option.
That was with your best friend?
Yeah.
So
the original was our best friend, Nadie.
Okay.
And she had literally, right before the pandemic, had just gotten her dream contract at Disney.
Oh.
And then like 2 weeks later, everything shut down.
So then it's, oh, wow.
Yeah. So we were just like kind of messing around and trying to make something out of it. And then it just kind of blew up. And then we started getting things like Captain Hiram's and JP's Fish Camp and kind of driving all over the place. And then we finally started getting some conventions and some weddings. We got our first wedding, I think, probably like 6 months in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, let me know if this is too personal, but I kind of want to dig in. Now, it's the pandemic, so I don't know. Are you working at this time with another job? Do you guys have essential jobs?
Yep. So we called them survival jobs.
Yeah.
So I had 3.
You kicked 4 of them out.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and they were all brand new, all new ones.
Oh, so you got rid of 7, and you got 3 brand new.
And just re-upped, you know, casual.
Right.
So Gus and I both worked for a landscaping company spraying herbicides.
Okay.
Which was horrendous. We had 30-pound backpacks of herbicides and had to walk around in the summer sun just getting soaked.
In Florida.
Oh my God, it was terrible.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
And then I found out that I'm actually allergic to herbicides.
Oh, so you're just poisoning yourself.
Yep. Oh, and I got really, really sick.
Awesome.
So that was terrible, and I lost 30 pounds.
But you're tiny already. Where did it?
Well, I mean, we had that pandemic weight at that point.
Girl, that's what I'm on right now. I'm trying to lose that pandemic weight still.
Just be allergic to herbicides. And
my God.
I also worked for an acting studio, like running their entire thing essentially. So I did all of their scheduling, their Facebook, all of their social media, pretty much everything.
So what advice would you give someone that can't afford to do it full time yet? Like if they want to entertain, or they want to go into singing, they want to perform, they want to go into music of some sorts, what advice would you give them?
I mean, I know so many like full-time musicians that still have side gigs at this point. Life is so expensive. Like if you are a musician and you're not just doing 100% music, that's okay. Like it doesn't have to be any one thing specifically all the time. If you're waitressing, that's not a big deal. Like you're still a musician.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't make you any less of a professional than if you were 100% focusing on music, because we can do that, but I still have a remote job. Remote jobs are where it's at right now, honestly.
Yeah,
like,
I know. I was like, man, my focus right now is just trying to travel the world, but still also have my career.
honestly, like, and there's so many people hiring. Like, it's just such an easy thing to get into. And then if you're on a gig, you're on a break, go ahead and do some of your online work.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm trying to really bestow, that it's not going to be easy, and you got to really want it. My last interview with Kristen, she's like, you got to want it.
Yeah.
Because when you're tired from working your normal job, on that extra free time that you are just like, I want to watch TV or watch my shows and like just do me or scroll on TikTok.
Yeah.
That's the time that you should be posting. That's the time that you should be marketing. Yep. And that's the time you should be like coming up with live or reels to post. And that's just what it has to do. Like, if you want it bad enough, you'll make time. Yeah. It's all about priorities. And I literally don't know how I do it, but I live, eat, and sleep, breathe this. I say it all the time, like, because I love it so much that when I'm trying to quote unquote relax, I'm still kind of working, but it doesn't feel like work. I'm just kind of promoting myself. So it's like, I'm not stressed while I'm doing it. I'm just like, okay, I know I need to like post. So as you guys are getting your gigs, and this is before your second, that side business, or what's the other one that you're doing? I'm sorry.
Oh, I work for Be Seen Socials. So essentially, this is also like in accordance with I Said Yes.
The other business that you have, so you have L&G Live, and then you have what else?
Oh, Live Effect?
Yeah.
So it's all kind of the same company. That's just like our 7-piece party band. That's the electric version.
So that's like the big, should I call it big band? Because you have like 7 people?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. Oh, okay. We've got 5 singers and so we've got 3 front singers, all female, which is really cool because that's not really a thing that you see very often here. A singing bass player, a singing piano player, a guitarist, and a drum kit.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what if you're someone that's into music but they don't have a band, or they're just solo? So what should they do?
I mean,
should they still record themselves, go on live constantly?
I mean, honestly, social media presence is going to be your best friend, and honestly, just trying to talk to people. I like emailed all these people. I would go into restaurants.
When you went to go email them, are you sending them like a video of what you performing?
Yeah.
Or what was like kind of your structure there?
So my whole email would just be like, hi friend, because I don't know who they are. If it's like at wine bar, I don't know who's behind it. Or even if it's the right email. Like I have no idea. I'm just
like Google search their email.
Literally on a hope and a prayer. Okay. Maybe like found it on Facebook, their website, whatever. So I would just be like, I'm the owner of L&G Live. We've got an acoustic duo and trio that I feel would fit really well in your environment. I'm going to post our demo reels below, as well as links to our social media accounts. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime. Here's my phone number. Here's our company email. Please let me know if you have any questions. Can't wait to hear back from you.
Love that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great email.
Yeah. And it's an easy copy paste.
Yeah. And then boom. Okay, so... you get those gigs. So what's next? Are you kind of just branching out? Like, how are you, I guess my question is, how are you transitioning from going, okay, so like we have a business. How are you making it profitable? How are you going, okay, this is starting to pay our bills, which granted, I'm sure with any kind of career, but definitely in artistry and an artist in general, it's a slow build.
Yeah.
But how can you get to survive?
In the very beginning, it was difficult. Like, as the owner, I was the one who took the hits. So if a restaurant wasn't paying enough for the trio, like our minimum at that point was $150 per person.
Okay.
So if they're only paying $300, I just wouldn't get paid.
You wouldn't get paid. You'll just go to them.
I just took the hit. I paid my people.
But you get that reputation that you performed.
Correct. And we don't do that anymore. We've gotten to the point where if the budget doesn't work out, it just doesn't work out. Not to say that venue is wrong. It's just not you right for us.
Yeah, and I feel like after some time, it's not that, well, I'm too good to perform there if you're not going to pay me. It's more so you just learn your worth, and you know that, like, well, where I would be performing with you guys, I could be putting my effort into something that would be promoting the business and growing the business a little bit.
And in the beginning, I had so little knowledge about live music in general because I had always been part of companies, like opera companies or musical theater companies. That wasn't really something I had to think about. So now I'm sitting here like, okay, we sat here and learned 150 songs. That's a lot of time. We sat here and bought a sound system. My cajon cost $300. His guitar, our mics, the cables, just our ability to be able to take requests, our ability to be able to alter our set list depending on the crowd.
I never realized that you have to learn all these songs. I mean, granted, especially if you're doing covers, I'm like, you kind of get the gist of it, but some covers you can make your own and twist it and make it.
And we do. Our whole thing is intense harmonies, especially with the trio and up. So it's not like we can just be like, oh yeah, I know Pour Some Sugar on Me, and just sing it, just the melody. There's going to be harmonies and there's going to be hard stops with the instruments. And
so
there's
you have to practice.
There's going to be musicality and instrumentation, and that really makes a difference with the quality of the product. And that's really what is important to us, is that we're not just a random bar band, and there's nothing wrong with those bands, but we just want to be held to a higher standard than that. So we want to make sure that our quality is just peak.
Love that. I love that. So where do you see your business going right now? What's the goal? What your current status, and where are you trying to go?
Honestly, my husband and I were talking about this right before I came over here, because we were looking at our calendar, and generally January, February are like our down season. So it's like, oh, you'll get a couple gigs a month and everything. This is when you rest after the chaos.
Is it because of holidays?
Yes.
So it's more, okay.
The holidays are absolute chaos.
Gotcha.
But we were looking at our schedule, and we have 2 days off the entire month.
Holy shit.
So we were like,
that's
what
great.
is happening?
That's amazing.
Yeah, honestly, we are also booked through exclusively a company called Eclectic Entertainment.
Okay.
And they are one of the best production companies in the state of Florida.
So then that leads me to another question. Okay, so let's say someone is wanting to do this, but they're struggling, one, to just get their name out there, two, to find places that will even hire them. So what, they can go to a production company, and then that production company will market them?
Yeah, you definitely can. So it's essentially like an agent for actors.
Okay.
You can do that with bands, with individual singers.
Like, what's some of the production company names?
So we're exclusive with Eclectic Entertainment.
Okay.
And you can kind of Google other ones. I don't know if I can say the other names just because we are exclusive with
No, that's fine.
Eclectic.
Is it something that, like, does it have to be local, or it can be anywhere?
It could kind of be anywhere. There's some companies that are like, we book in Las Vegas and Orlando and New York. You know what I mean? And there's some laws in some states that you can only have one. But in Florida, you can have as many bookers as you feel that you need.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It's a really great way to get introduced to new venues, because there's some contracts that are exclusive. So like if you want to work for London House, it's got an exclusive contract with so-and-so. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it just opens up a whole another door for you.
So then, okay, you're with them. So where do you guys plan on going? What's your goal? What's the dream?
We're trying to build up to at least a 10-piece party band. But honestly, like, in just under a year, we've grown so much. We honestly kind of got propelled into a territory that we're kind of unfamiliar with.
Gotcha.
So we're working so much more than it is normal for a new band to be working. Yeah.
So like, okay, in my profession, and tell me if this is the same or if it's not really doable. Again, I know nothing about bands or music, or let's say I'm the owner of the business.
Yeah.
And if I start, which I do already, I have associate shooters under me that they are with my company, but they'll go and they'll shoot a wedding because I'm already booked or whatever it may be. So can you do that to where you can multiple book in the same day, but you have lead singers that, like, basically your role, but can you branch off that way?
Technically you could, but the way that we built our band is that these particular people are the faces of the band.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like going to see Paramore and Hayley Williams isn't there.
Yeah, so
you know what I mean? So that is a thing though. Like, there are whole companies that base their product on that example. Like, Bay King's band will essentially send out an email and see who's available, and these instrumentalists and singers are just so insanely talented that they can just get on that stage and perform like they've been performing together for years. So there are other companies that do that, and they're great. Bay King's band gets booked all the time.
Interesting.
And they're wonderful. It's just not what we're basing our product on,
Gotcha.
because we also don't do songs straight. We have very specific arrangements, and we do a lot of mashups and medleys. So it's very specific. We have a new girl coming in now, and she's got to go through like 7 rehearsals to even be considered to go on stage.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work.
Besides like the social media, are there other websites or platforms that people can promote themselves?
I know a lot of people do like The Knot.
Really? Like if they specifically want to do like weddings?
Yeah, The Knot. Gig Salad is also a really good one.
Gig Salad. That's the name.
Have you never heard of that one? No, you can do photography on there too. You can do all kinds of stuff.
Can you take note, please? Write this down. Gig Salad.
Yeah, Gig Salad is great. Gig Beat, like there's so many things. And I also,
crazy.
like I had mentioned, I said yes earlier. They are a wedding show company, but they also do meetups with other wedding professionals.
Yeah, so the business is called I Said Yes.
Yes, yeah. They're great.
And remind me, are they just locally? Are they just like Central Florida?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that they're mostly Central Florida, but I think they'll also go outside.
Yeah.
But I'm not super sure. It is run by one woman, Georgia. Amazing.
Wait, I know who Georgia is.
You know Georgia?
The spiky blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Georgia.
Yeah, she's great.
So that's where I don't know if I was just having a brain malfunction or something, because I was like, I know I said yeah. I know that. What am I thinking? No, I love her. I've gotten to know her a lot.
I literally just went to their last meet and greet at Bella Colina.
Okay, yeah. Which is a stunning. I want to take Kenny there because it's just otherworldly when you walk in. Look, am I in Tuscany?
Literally, we did a gig there one time. It was a custom Les Mis medley.
That's my favorite movie of all time.
Literally, oh my God. It was a surprise for the parents of the bride. And it was just 4 of us that they wanted us to sing one of the songs from the...
Which one did you sing?
Oh my gosh, was it Do You Hear the People singing a song of angry men?
It's
the whole medley.
I'm telling you, I know everything about that movie.
I can't remember what the name of the song is, but it's a huge medley at the end.
No, yeah, because they're
Catch
at
them as
the...
they fall. Free for all. Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's so that's at the end. I think at the very end when
One
they're
Day
all
More.
gathering
One Day More. That's what it's called.
One
Yeah.
Day More.
So we all came out dressed in gowns and stuff, and everyone was like, "What is this?" And then we started singing it, and the dad was in tears, just hysterically sobbing. So we're all trying to find another spot to look at so we don't start crying.
That's so awesome. I think they sang One Day More when they did the flash mob at downtown in the Millennium Mall.
Yes, I've seen that, and it's so good. The acoustics
I'm telling you, that's my favorite song. My favorite movie, so I know every single song. Even though
it's a good one.
Russell Crowe was like my least favorite, which naturally, but whatever.
That was a choice.
Yeah.
That was a choice. But you know what? Make that money, Russell Crowe.
Yeah,
that's okay.
So. But it was great. That was my very first time. I didn't even know Hugh knew how to sing. I was like, what?
Oh, you have to see him in The Boy from Oz then.
I have not seen that movie, but I did get Kenny on the circus one. What is it?
Oh, The Greatest Showman?
Yes. And he was like, this is amazing. I'm like, I know, it's a musical, but it's amazing. Okay, so going back to work. Okay, so I said yes. So if anyone's interested, there are these companies, and it doesn't have to just be I said yes because you said it's only women, or is it only?
No, it could be anyone. It's just most of the people that I have seen there are women. It's just a really nice collaborative.
Like yeah. So there's a lot of networking events that you guys can go to. Honestly, a quick Google search in your area will definitely tell you some places as well. They do luncheons essentially. And you pay like a small fee, like $30 or $40, something like that. And you meet a lot of people in the industry or that are in the industry, but may do a different field in that particular industry. So like if it's weddings, I can meet a DJ, I can meet a planner, I can meet a venue owner, I can meet everybody, a singer. So if you want to get your face out there and market that way, because that's initially how I started.
Yeah. And referrals are your best friend. So if you make a connection and somebody likes your work, they're going to be with the client and be like, I know the perfect photographer for you. Yeah. I know exactly what you need.
I started by luncheons, and I was scared as fuck because I was
it's hard to just walk up to random people and be like,
Hi, I'm a photographer. My name's Nikki. I'm a photographer. Please remember me.
It's kind of like when you're little and you're like, do you want to be friends?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you don't know what they're thinking. They're like, yeah, hi.
Yeah.
And then here's my card. Please reach out. But if you could stop and actually try to have a conversation, and a skill that I have learned in all the years is even if you want them, and this can go with your career, but this can also go with relationships. It could go with future friends. It can go with, it's a skill to have in life. If you are trying to impress someone, or you're just trying to get to know someone, or you need them to, trying to get information, if you'll get someone talking about themselves, I can sit there and be like, even, just trying to make a connection rather than talking about yourself. I'm a photographer. I've been doing this for 15 years. If you're like, so what do you do? Tell me more. That person will keep talking, and you keep asking them questions, just like kind of what we're doing here in a sense. That person will remember you more because you're like, yeah, like I was talking to them for a while. They were really interested in, like, because again, it's just a natural human thing that we are more self-indulged and selfish in general. So like the more attention's on you, you're like, even if it's just random questions, they'll remember you more. So that's a skill that I learned early on. If you really want to get in good with a certain planner or a certain restaurant that you're like, just, try to talk about them, and don't just roll up at a restaurant when they're busy. They won't want to talk to you at all.
Correct.
But, pick the times, and that's just something I've learned. If I'm engaging, I'm focusing on them, and they feel like filled a little bit. They feel like this good feeling when they're around you, because that's just how humans are.
And you actually care about them.
Mm-hmm. Like, don't be fake.
Yeah.
Don't be like one ear out the other, whether, like, listen what the hell they're saying. Yeah. But
remembering details too. Yeah. People really enjoy when you're like, hi, Angela, how's the baby?
That's one thing. Yeah, I'm terrible at names. Everyone, like, I'll be like, oh my God, what was the person's name? So I do the whole
babe.
thing.
Hey, babe.
Hey, sweets. Yeah.
How's your mom?
Love
I know
it.
she was in the hospital or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm learning that a little bit more because, like, when I go on social media, I post and maybe scroll for a little bit and I'm off.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not getting as many updates as other people's lives as maybe they are seeing of mine. So when I run into people at grocery stores or wherever, they're like, oh, blah, 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 what happened with it? And I'm like, how the fuck does this person know that? And I'm like, who is this person? And it happens to me all the time with Kenny. Kenny's like, who is that? I'm like, I don't know.
No idea.
I don't know. And I don't want to be rude. So I'm just like, yes, so good to see you. Look great. Like,
that's the other thing about social media is people feel like they know you more than they
which
do.
Which is the point, because especially as an artist, we have to make them feel that way.
Yeah.
Like a wedding photographer, I got to have girls that feel like they know me and they're like, Nikki's here to photograph me. And then I show up and they're not awkward in front of the camera.
Right.
So when I do this, they're not like, what do I do? You know what I mean? And
you establish that relationship.
I have to, that's why I put myself out on the internet like that a lot. So as far as, let's go a little bit more women. How is your industry? Is it still like more of a male dominant?
It really depends on where we are. Some situations are really easy, but I mean, one thing that specifically comes to mind is that we used to work at this very specific venue. I won't say their name, just, for reasons.
Yeah, we don't want to bash anybody.
No. And it wasn't even the venue. The venue was great. It was one of our favorite places to work. But they had this one guy that ran the entirety of the entertainment department. And he was an older white dude. And I'm not an expert in tech or anything, but I know what I need, right? Mm-hmm. So we were out setting up the stage, and he had asked us a question. I can't even remember what it was. And I was sitting there answering him and telling him what we needed, and he was staring at my husband waiting for a response.
Oh, because the husband had to have known.
Yeah, while I was telling him the answer. And thankfully, my husband, being the doll he is, just kind of took over the interaction, because I will be crazy sometimes. I'm from New Jersey and I just kind of black out. Yeah. So he's like, let me do it. I got it. No worries. You just grab some water, take a break, or do whatever you need to do, and I'll handle this, just to not make me have to be in that situation for any longer.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. Like, as a female, like, I know that I run this business, and like, he should be listening to me, and I could take control of that entire situation. But if he's willing to help me get through that situation, I don't have to be in charge of everything just because I'm the owner. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I can agree with you. Like, I feel like because we're a woman, we don't know business, or some people, Not everyone. Thank God it is getting to this point in a day and age where, the acceptance and equal and again, there's a lot of things Kenny is brilliant at. Kenny is brilliant at lighting and the technicality of the camera. Like, he knows, I've been doing this 15 years. He's been doing it for 4 with my company. Yeah. And I'm like, you know way more than I do with certain things. And that's awesome, because I get so busy with what my day-to-days of what I need to handle that I do fail in certain certain ways to where, like, I need to further my education on XYZ, but I really don't fucking have the time. Yeah. Because I am, like, glued to my computer because I have to edit these gigs, and he's already learned it. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's this and this. I'm like, oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. And then now, he's, like, my builder. So, like, which he doesn't really love, but I come out with a new prop idea and I'm like, Kenny. He's like, no, don't do it.
While we are the strong, independent women and we do own these companies, like, it is not a bad thing to also rely on your partner. Yeah. To have that support from them. Yes. Especially.
And if you don't have a partner, you can still do it, girl. Yeah. I promise you can.
Or your female partner, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, having support from somebody else. I feel like a lot of the times when you're the owner, you're like, it's me. I have to do it. I'm the one that needs to be in charge. It's like, it's okay. Like, you have these people to delegate to because you know that this is where their experience lies. This is where they shine. So let them do that.
Yeah. I can see that. What so far has been one of your biggest challenges to get over? Maybe the whole business or to grow? Like, what's your, either in the past or currently or maybe in the future?
Honestly, the biggest thing that I struggle with, I guess there's really 2 things. So we've been running into a problem now, which is not really anything that has to do with the business, but since we are on stage, we put ourselves out there, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And people see you so often, they feel like they can kind of say whatever they want to you.
You mean like on social media and all these?
On social media, in person, whatever, like they'll come up to us and tell us that we're fat, or, you know what I mean? Just things that I'm like, listen, sir, we just belted a high F. Like, I don't know what a gut has to do with that. You know what I mean? Like, and regardless of whether you have one or not, it has nothing to do with the performance. Yeah. Besides the fact that I promise you, if you jumped on stage with us and did what we do, you would not have enough stamina to do it. Like, I promise you.
No, it's, what was this? Someone just told me. Oh my God.
Was it about Lizzo?
No, it was actually about Taylor Swift. But it was like how she has to prepare. She runs on a treadmill and while sings. Yep. Because it's like...
in high heels.
Yes, because it's so exhausting. And I think that if anybody can say that it's easy, try to sing out loud while doing like a dance or
literally
a workout,
anything.
and you'll just be like, you know, you won't sound good.
Yeah, and we're super high energy too, and so is she. Like, Taylor Swift is nuts. But somebody said the same thing about Lizzo because she's a bigger person, but she's sitting there and playing the flute, which takes so much lung support.
I seen her play. Yeah.
Listen, that is insane, the amount of stamina that woman has, but it's such a difficult thing to have on stage, and then you do this whole thing and then somebody's like, you're fat, and it's like, that's what you got, like, thanks. Out of that. Jeez. Like, really?
So is it something like maybe just advice maybe to someone listening, like if you're interested just in this, just be, you know, try to guard yourself. You might hear some criticism.
You don't even have to guard yourself, just know that just because
I just don't want their feelings to be hurt. You know what I mean? I think it's just because you put yourself out there.
Yeah, and it's difficult too. And you're sitting there doing something that you worked on for so long, and then somebody picks out something that has nothing to do with what you're doing, like your outfits or whatever. They don't like the choreography, or like, it's like, I'm sorry, you don't have to be here. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to change anything, and my body is none of your concern. To be honest, like,
that's great.
Like, we love our audiences, and we love that they have fun, but there's sometimes people just kind of step over the line.
So that leads me to another question. Let's hear some crazy stuff. Let's hear it. We're not going to drop names or anything like that. We can say the location. Yeah. But let's hear crazy. It could be a specific night or day. It can be a specific experience. Let's hear some some quick, funny, crazy stories that you've had while entertaining.
One that I do love. So I had we perform up like in the Wildwood-ish area a lot, and we were.
You can say the name if you want.
I don't think I'm allowed, but just
the place that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Let's not. Let's just. If you're from Florida, it's where old people go. But they don't just go. They go to they party.
Yeah, they're partiers.
They're not they're not in a retirement home. They are living their life.
Correct.
So if you know what we're talking about, you already know.
Right. And Gus, my husband, is the bass player, right?
Okay.
So it's me and two other girls that front the band. So we're the ones that are talking to the crowd and giving everybody hyped up and performing and dancing. Mm-hmm. In between, people come up and chit chat with us all the time. Super not weird.
Yeah.
So I had this one older gentleman come up. And when I say older, he was like not super, super old. He was probably like mid 50s. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. So just older than me.
Yeah.
And he was cute, like, but he comes up and he was like, so what are the chances that I can take you home? Meanwhile, Gus is right behind me and I've got my ring on. So I'm just like, oh, well, just trying to show him the ring. And I was like, well, the bass player is my husband. And he was like, oh, so I'm assuming he's going to want to, take you back home with him. And I'm like, probably.
I mean, I hope so. He's my ride too.
And he was like, what if I showed you my stock options chart? And I was like, sir?
I'd be like, well, I don't know much about stock. Are you going to give me some? Or
yeah.
What do you mean? I guess it looks like a chart?
Yeah, like show you my bank account kind of thing. And I'm like, thank you so much.
But
I'm
thank you.
All set. Thank you and that happens constantly,
especially probably in that location because like again I've heard things and I've been there before. Me and Kenny, we had to work in that area and then we went over. It was local and we had the rest of the day off and I had my laptop with me too. And I was like, you know what, I can dish out some editing and we'll go have lunch. And they have like cool eateries and we were outside, local bands. You might have been there for all I know. And I was just like, and I'm watching, and I think it is like a 50 something community or up or something. I think it's
55 and up, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, again, 55, you're young.
Yeah, it's
like,
not that
you're
old.
still living.
Yeah.
And again, it's not a cheap place. It's very expensive to live there. And I think it was like a Tuesday, like midday Tuesday, and people are partying midday. And I'm like, what the hell?
That's why you live there.
Yeah. And there's like this court, like middle court area, and people are just dancing in the middle. There's a band playing. I'm like, what is happening? This is fantastic. I'll probably never be able to afford to live here, but I would like to come here more. This is crazy. Okay, so that incident, anything else?
I mean, that kind of stuff happens all the time. It's not just like that demographic. I remember we were performing at Tin Roof on the green room side for New Year's Eve one year, and I was on my cajon, right? And mic to mouth, I'm in the middle of singing and playing at the same time. So my hands and my mouth are occupied, right? So there's this guy that keeps coming up to the front of the stage and like giving his phone to me, like facing it and just pointing at it. And I'm like, someday, I'm singing, right? I don't know what to do. I can't help you right now. So we finally stop and Gus takes over the talking to the audience so I can be like, what?
What's up? What'd you need?
And he was like, your phone number. And I was like, sir?
Oh my God.
I was like, you interrupted me for that whole song.
Yeah. And like literally not to be like a bitch, but like, and it's not even, I don't know what this dude looks like. He could be sexy as, he could be Ian Somerhalder for all I care. But like, what like goes through people's minds that like in the middle of a performance, that's the right time. I'm gonna get those in front of everybody.
The audacity, honestly, like it was funny at the time because it was my husband and one of our best friends, James. So they're just laughing at this point because I'm surrounded by two dudes and he's sitting here like there's no possibility that she could be with either of these guys. Yeah. So that kind of stuff happens to all of us all the time.
That's crazy. So how do you stay relevant, or how do you fight maybe not really fight, but how do you work with the competition that's out there?
Honestly, I'm not really a competition person, like especially in Orlando. I don't feel like
you're like going against other bands or other singers.
There's so much work here. Like a stupid amount of work that we're not like, oh, they're our competition. But
so like, don't even have the mindset that
no, and we suggest a lot of other bands a lot. Like if we're not available for something. That's what I try to tell
people. I was like,
it's so much less stressful that way. Like I don't see you as the enemy.
Exactly. And if you will stop and because comparison is the thief of joy for sure. And I will say firsthand when especially probably the first 5 years, easy of my career. I was like, oh, but they have better stuff, or their
Yeah.
pictures look different. How are they doing this? I don't look like, mine doesn't look like that. How are they getting these gigs? How are they getting these bookings? And it just stole what I actually did have. And I realized certain things happen in my career that I was like, I got to change the way I think. And I need to like fix this because I'm not I have my dream career and I'm not happy. What am I doing? And I'm making money.
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong? What is happening with me? And I said, fuck that. I'm not gonna have, and I started building, relationships with other photographers, and now I will literally, I'll refer people if I can't take the gig, or I can't take, the booking, or if I'm not in their area, like, go check out this person. And that it fills me. And I have a lot of photographers that refer me, and I'm like, oh, thank you.
It makes your life so much easier, honestly. And like, there's always going to be bands that kind of see you as competition, and that's fine. Like, we don't have to refer each other. But if you're right for the gig, like, you're right for the gig. Like, we don't all
I mean, look at your first gig.
Correct.
Another band brought you in.
And they're also another party band that, like, if we weren't available, we would be like, hey, I know this other band. Yeah. That would be perfect for what you're looking for. So you think
maybe as someone starting out, they should reach out to other bands, or do you think that that's like stepping the line? How would they try to approach that?
I don't think it's stepping a line, but it's definitely not the same kind of quality. So when you're first starting out, you need to get those like basic gigs under your belt before you can get to the ones that the bands that have been going for years are getting to, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like for staying relevant, like the thing that we focus on the most is the quality of our product, which is also another reason why we don't rotate people out very often, because it changes the vibe.
Yeah, especially once, like, again, I only have my experiences and my career to go off of, so I'm sure it's kind of like I can give Kenny a look and he knows what I'm talking about.
Yes, correct.
So if you're like giving them a look, or you have such a strong vibe between your performance with somebody, that will totally feed into the audience. Yeah, 100%.
And it's consistent all the time. If you see us perform at the Villages and you book us for your wedding, it will be the same. It will be the same quality for both, regardless of whether we're getting paid $150 for a bar gig or $700 for a corporate event. It will be the same energy. Awesome. Like, I remember Lady Gaga one time had said, like, it doesn't matter if you're performing for one person or 10,000 people, your performance should be the same. Yeah. And I really try to live by that with our product, because it really makes a difference in how people receive you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like Lady Gaga. So is there any particular time in your career that you're like was the best performance, or the most meaningful, or something that you're like, wow, this is fucking why I'm doing this? I know I just put you on the spot, but
we've had so many times, I think, just because this year has been so surprising to us, because we've had such a high level of acceptance and we've been received so well and so fast. It's almost like every gig for us now is like, oh my God, like, did that just happen? Do we have all of these people still coming out, and more and more and more coming out every time? And after every single gig, we get DMs and comments and text messages from people giving us compliments. Yeah. And we're just like aghast. Like, we just did New Year's Eve and played on like adjacent to Uncle Cracker. Like, what? I know, that's right? So cool. Random, but it's just
that would shock me. I'd be like, oh my, I love Uncle Cracker.
We saw it and we were like, oh my God.
That's awesome.
It was like our 2000s brains were like tingling.
So just slowly gonna start wrapping up here. I guess it could be a young women of all ages in general. What advice, if they're just young, getting out of school, or maybe a stay-at-home mom, just trying, maybe this is their passion, they've always wanted to do it. How should they start? What should they do? And can they reach out to you if they decide to, for advice?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking specifically about band stuff, like, it's okay to start from scratch. I knew literally nothing. And I relied a lot on my friends, on people that I knew had experience, not just in the entertainment business, but for, filing our permits and that kind of thing. And you just
legal stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Do everything little by little. Make sure that you have time to do your research, and it's going to be hard, and that's okay. You're going to have days where it just sucks, but that's going to happen with anything. And if you were that passionate about this, those days are going to be so worth what you're going to end up with in the end.
Exactly. Yeah.
You'll all but forget about those days where you cried yourself to sleep because you can't figure out why people won't respond to you for bookings, or why you can't have a better demo reel, or, you know, why you got canceled for something.
Yeah.
There's just so many more benefits than there are downsides to starting your own business, regardless of what area it's in. And especially, like, I got so lucky having my husband and my best friends surrounding me. Just make sure that you have the right people around you, I think, is the biggest thing. Because if I didn't have my husband and Christina and James and Nadine and all of these people that are in my circle, in my company, this would not have happened. And especially not in the way that it did.
I had to learn the hard way to minimize my circle. Because just like alcohol, drugs, and all those things are toxic to your body, people are toxic.
Correct.
And they could absolutely steal your sparkle, your fire. And I hate to say this, but I've learned that family loves to do that. And sometimes where family and the people that you thought would have your back are the ones to doubt you the most. And you might just have to find new family and build your own little family that believes in you, because you're going to need it, because you're not going to have people clapping and patting your back every day. You have to do it for yourself. And because both of us are in this sort of like creative art world where I produce photographs, that is an art form. You sing, which is an art form, and art is subjective. You're going to get criticism and you're going to get judged, and just know that you have to have a backbone a little bit and just trust in your own work. And even if you're love singing or love, you know, art, and maybe your vocals aren't where it needs to be, then take those classes that you need to do, but don't ever stop.
Do it anyway.
Because if you stop, then you definitely failed.
I was learning,
you just keep going
through the whole process. So many things changed. Like, if you look at literally anything that we've done from the beginning, our vocals, our instrumentation, the way that we run the business, everything is different. And it's okay to outsource too. Like, I was doing all of our booking, all of our contracts, all of our outreach by myself. And finally, Eclectic reached out to us, and the owner, Chrislyn Rojas, is an absolute doll. So now they run our booking and the contracts and everything. So it's okay to not do everything by yourself. Which I think is hard for somebody who's an entrepreneur and has that kind of mindset.
Yep.
And it's okay to delegate. Everything is fine.
I learned pretty early on too, is that what maybe you're not great at right now, just fine to outsource. So like, I knew right from the gate, I'm terrible at numbers. And don't even get me started on taxes. I don't know shit with that stuff.
That's what a CPA is for.
But I also hired an accountant. And now I don't have to worry about that. I could focus where I would be stressing each year, or, you know, doing my monthly bookkeeping. You know, she's got it. She's got my, you know, my back with that.
And now to be fair, you have to have the expendable income to do that. So in the beginning, it's going to be difficult if you're just starting out, but you'll get there.
It's just patience too. Don't think that you're going to run into I mean, if you do, awesome. Good for you. You did it. But more odds than not, it's going to take time. But,
and if things go wrong, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, just because you made a mistake, now you know another way to not do that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, wrapping up, so how can they find you again? I'm definitely going to be tagging her on all of my social medias. So if you're not following, please follow the Confidence Queen podcast. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And then your Instagram?
Yeah, so we have at L&G Live for all of our acoustic acts. And you can find Live Effect on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Live Effect Party Band on all 3 platforms.
Yay! And then we'll be sharing a bunch of things. And if you guys have any questions or specific questions for her, you can reach her on her Instagram. You could DM me and I can relay the questions to help you out. But I'm so happy you came.
Yeah,
you did so
thank
great.
you.
I think a lot of knowledge. I'm still learning. So like, this fueled me to learn a whole bunch of things I didn't even know about the music industry too. So that's awesome. But thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys next time.